Good day, everyone, and I'm Ryan from the Grumpy Old Gamers, and we got Rob with me, and we have our friend of the show, Christopher Chipman, joining us in a way too long catch-up episode. Chris, how's it going?
It's going great. I am relocated to my basement, and I have my awesome microphone, and I'm just happy to talk to you guys.
Yeah,
Same
same,
here.
man. I
Yep.
can't believe it's been 4 months since we last got together.
Can't believe it's September.
Yeah,
Yes.
that too. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely, man. So,
Or March the seventh month, as I like to put it.
Yep.
yeah,
2020's been a something.
Yep. At least we got games.
Yes.
yeah, it's definitely
You
helped.
don't have to consume public space. We still get them.
Exactly.
Yep.
Just that virtual space.
That's right.
So, in over the summer, Chris, you've been playing anything?
So no, God, when we last had Father's Day happened, I don't think it did.
No,
I don't think
no.
it had.
no.
Because Father's Day was in June. All right,
Yes.
so my brother shows up on Father's Day and got me PS4, and he was like, "All right." This is coming from Bob. People that know my brother. This is coming from Movie Bob. So it not being a Nintendo product might make people puke a little bit, thinking that. But he had said there's way too much good stuff on this, and you haven't played any of it. So here you go. And it was wonderful. And I immediately he gave it to me with Maneater, which I don't know if you guys have played Maneater.
Seen a
Have
lot of
you
it.
guys played
Yeah.
it?
I know about it. I haven't
So
tried it. No.
Maneater is a strange beast. Bob and I got to play it at PAX, which was the last time, February 27th ish that any of us were out in public, right?
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yep.
The last big convention that happened. It was just wonderful. It's very, no pun intended. But the core concept of what if we made Grand Theft Auto, but you were a shark, is kind of a really cool one. And the color commentary from Chris Parnell from Saturday Night Live, which is a mix of legitimate, real facts about sharks that he mixes in with completely improv stuff he just makes up, and the game doesn't let on to which is real and which isn't. Is hysterical. Like he talks about it like it's an NFL game. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
it's just really funny. Like, you'll throw a guy through the air and he'll be like, the longest a human's ever been launched by a shark was actually in 1920, where one was launched over the Sistine Chapel. You sit there and be like, wait a minute, what? But he says it in complete deadpan, like it's
great.
legitimate. The game is poised as a nature documentary, but like a crappy one. Like what if the crocodile hunter was an asshole? So you get the jerk version of him, and the game starts with your mother as a shark getting getting caught by this evil guy, and him basically, without going into graphic detail, ritualistically killing like Quintwood in Jaws, and taking you and giving you a cut scar so he remembers you and throwing you back into the water, and then you grow up and chase him down is the story of the game. And it, again, there's one button to eat, one button, and you have power-ups, but they don't really do much. But it's a really, really well-made game. It's the Unreal 4 engine, which is on its last legs, but it's such a good engine.
Oh yeah.
And just the idea to play a shark and have it, like I want to, jump up in the air and land on this dock and eat 3 people and then have them all scream and run away and flop back down into the water. And you can do that. And it's a lot of fun. It definitely is bogged down like Grand Theft Auto and other games like it by, fetch quests and stuff that don't really go anywhere, which kind of comes with the territory. But, I didn't sign up for, a deep game. I signed up for I want to play a shark and I want to eat people, and that's what you get to do. It's fun.
It's side scrolling, right?
Nope, it is
No?
not. It is.
Oh,
It's full on 3D world. Yeah,
okay.
and
Oh,
a beautiful one at that. It's not not cutting edge by any stretch, but it's they're going to be able to port it to the Switch. So and I think they'll be able to do it without it really bogging it down. So that's about the level that it's pushing. But I've had a ton of fun with it, and with that, I'm trying to be smarter about my PS4 than I was with my PS2. Because when I got my PS2, I had first started working at Blockbuster and had an income where I still lived at my parents' house, so I didn't have to. So I probably had 75 PS2 games, you know,
Yep.
and it was impossible to find time to play any one of them, so I just kind of was partially complete on all of them. So I have Maneater, and then I downloaded the Final Fantasy VII remake because how can you not? Were either of you guys fans of the original? Did you have a chance to play it when it first came out?
I didn't know.
I did.
No?
I played it the PC port, which was
Yeah.
not great.
No, it was not.
but that was the last Final Fantasy I played. I was a big one, two,
Yeah.
three, and then seven was the last one I tried. And you know, sounds like a lot of people consider it the best, so maybe I missed out on that. But yeah, what'd you think of the remake?
I'm only through the first wave of it, so like for people that that's sacrilegious, you should have played the whole thing. But if you guys don't know, they did basically the first act
Yeah,
of the game
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
over again, and I'm about a third of the way through that first act, and it is when you think of fan service, and there's fan service that can be done a few ways, right? You get fan service like something like The Force Awakens, which I love, 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 love The Force Awakens. But The Force Awakens, outside of adding some mythos and stuff, is not a whole lot more than just giving you more of exactly what you want.
Hmm.
Um, this game is the kind of fan service that's more like Cobra Kai, which I don't know if you
Ah, yeah,
guys have
yep.
watched that, but they revisit something that you know and love, but challenge your interpretation of it from the
Okay.
first time you played it. So instead of this being shot for shot, line for line, note for note Final Fantasy VII, and without blowing what they do, they play around with it so the game kind of meta knows that you may have already played this before and already experienced this before. So it has ways of having that be part of the narrative. And it really helps make it feel fresh instead of just, hey, we prettied up Final Fantasy VII and you're playing it again. Which again, I'm all for just re-releasing an old game. Don't get me wrong, and I'm sure as we go through this, we'll get into some of those things that are happening that I'm just fine with. But for them to have, really gone back and tried to make something new out of something, you can touch this and have this the first time you ever played it and get the story, which is great. But if you are a fan that, put 75 to 120 hours into the original game, this just gives you so much more.
Sure.
And I think that's a really hard balance, and I'm really, really happy that they pulled it off. Square for a while was kind of treading water, I feel.
Yeah.
At least in the US places, they people forget that for every 3 RPGs we get over here, there's like 50 that they release in Japan
Yep.
that we never see.
Yeah, it's
But
true.
Hmm.
but the Final Fantasy series in general became very linear and very cinematic, which I don't have a problem with. It's
Hmm.
just that's the direction they went, and this game definitely, I won't say suffers from that, but that's the kind of brand that they melded this into. But the first act of the Final Fantasy VII game is very linear, and then you get out into the giant world where you get to make choices and everything. So it reason that they did it that way, but it is a gorgeous freaking game, and I'm happy that I got to play it, and I hope someone listening has too, because it's not the most perfect video game ever made, the original, but it's why I bought a PlayStation. It's why I almost got kicked out of my house by my brother for buying a PlayStation. And again, I looked at it as, I need this game. It had nothing to do with, my love for Nintendo, which sticks through to today. But I needed that game. I had to have it.
So did he almost kick you out because of being the Nintendo fan, or is that?
Yeah, no, it was Sony that was the last death throw of the console war thing, the old console war, right? Sony kind of represented what Sega was unable to do. Sega and Nintendo kind of were at each other's throats, and then at the end of the day, you kind of got everybody just kind of loves them both. Like looking back at the SNES and Genesis, everyone's just kind of like, yeah, they were both great. What's the big deal? But PlayStation came out, there was that whole underlying, they were a Nintendo product and Sony and them were developing it together. And then Nintendo made the terrible decision to not want to have their product stolen. So they stuck with cartridges, and Sony, and so it came with that. And that's why Square, made a decision to step away from Nintendo. And then, the same thing happened with Rare after the N64. It keeps happening over and over again. And so there was that, how could you flip off Nintendo like that by wanting this Sony thing? But man, when he played Final Fantasy VII for the first time, I went, oh shit. and I was like, yeah, exactly. It was just a very interesting time because, Nintendo they were still making games that, for every Sony game that came out that was wonderful, I find Final Fantasy VII, Crash Bandicoot, any of those Sony first-gen games, you go back and try to play them, and they've really lost something in translation. They were innovative, for sure, but they're almost, I'm not going to call them unplayable, but they're not innovative. They were doing something very innovative, so Nintendo, you go back and pick up any Nintendo right from the house of Nintendo game on the N64, and you pick that up, and whether you're a Switch fan or whether you're a Wii U fan or a Wii fan, you pick up an N64 game and you immediately know how to play it. There's no loss in translation. Visually there might be, but Mario 64 just like Super Mario Odyssey. Right? You don't have to know some crazy button combination or know that the camera in the Resident Evil game, when you switch to the new screen, you pointing forward is going to make you walk backward because the camera changed. But again, not to take away from the fact that Sony was innovating, and that's something Nintendo wasn't doing. Nintendo was sticking with what worked, and I think there's place for both of them. But games like Final Fantasy VII need to be reinvented to be able to get a new group to play them. But you can stick Mario 64 on a packet of games and re-release them today, and the 10-year-old that loves Super Mario Odyssey is going to love Mario just as much. And that's I think they're timeless, these games. And I think the PlayStation games, as much as people have nostalgia vision through them, are not as timeless. For example, that's why Tony Hawk 1 and 2, which I think is in my list of games I've been playing this summer. I was just playing it with my daughter tonight. She jumps on her trampoline and tells me where to go, and it blows me away at how perfect. When I say a game like Final Fantasy VII, leaves something to be desired in the controls, I do not think, Tony Hawk 1 came out, and then every single Tony Hawk game that came after had the same controls. They nailed it on the first one. Yep. They tightened them up a little bit or whatever. But I picked up this game, and even though it looks, it's running on the Unreal 4 engine. There we go again. I don't know if you guys played it?
Not yet.
The new one? You pick it up, Superman by Goldfinger kicks up, and what I think is really cool is they have almost all the original songs, but they also have new songs by bands that were also big then. So they might not have been on the original soundtrack, but like Less Than Jake has a new Less Than Jake song in Tony Hawk now. And I'm
Huh?
like, this is amazing. Like and they just fit in so perfect. And you can switch through them at random. Like you can just pick what song you want to listen to when you play the level. You also can link to your Spotify playlist and it'll play Spotify while you
Oh,
play the
nice.
game too. Which reminded me of a time. Did either of you guys have a Dreamcast?
Yes.
So you know one of Dreamcast's little gimmicks that they had, because they fully doubled down on the we load at the beginning and then once you're playing the game it doesn't have to load anymore. Um, they had a thing where you could take the disc out once the game loaded and put an album in and it would play the
Right.
album while you played the
Sure.
game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
you
thought
bet.
that was really cool. Thought that was really cool. And so that kind of reminds me of what they did here with this Tony Hawk game. It's like, you know, because that's part of the experience, right? The game is a top to bottom, brilliantly developed game. Like, I mean, they've been aping it for 20 years now, right? It's perfect. Like, there's nothing, but I like the idea of, you know, graphically releasing Tony Hawk 1 on a PS4, it's the problem Nintendo isn't going to have. Is graphically people are going to look at that and go, we want it to be HD and we want it to be this and we want it to be that. So they polished it up, but didn't forget the fact that there was nothing wrong with how it controlled. So the game is just perfect. I picked it up and went, I already know how to play this.
Yep. Yep.
And it was just wonderful.
Uh,
Another thing, because oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I didn't get into Tony Hawk until 3 and 4, and
Oh,
then
really?
like Underground. Just the age I was at. My
Yeah.
friends weren't playing it. I was telling Rob actually right before the show here. I discovered it. I was an actual cable guy when I first
Mm.
started, and I was doing a service call at the house, and I was working in the basement, and the kids were playing Tony Hawk, and it was on the N64. And I was like, "What is this? This is amazing!" Like seeing them go up the half pipe, and the zooming in and like everything. And so after that, it was on my radar. But yeah, I didn't get into it
What's
till 3 and 4.
bringing up the N64 thing? This is wild how hard Sony pushed the PlayStation, because the N64 came out and the N64 kind of did what it did out of the box,
Hmm.
and people were pushing it hard. But Tony Hawk was such a step, like the fact like how dynamic the camera was in that game, like
Yes.
the fact that it like had a specific way it moved when you did tricks, so the controls were very fluid. And for them to be able to release Tony Hawk on N64, they could only do it with that memory update, because the
Yeah.
N64 actually couldn't handle processing a PlayStation 1 game. And that just completely breaks my brain. Granted, it looked way better on N64. They definitely upped the ante on how the game looked and everything, but
Yeah.
it's still I my original love of Tony Hawk came from the PlayStation magazine. It was a CD. I don't know if so Nintendo Power, but PlayStation actually mailed you their
Yeah.
magazine on a
Yep.
disc.
You bet.
And that game, the demo of it on there, I went, whatever this is, I need it. I need it now. I love the music. I love the game. I've never played a game that felt like this before. I need this now. And I've just been hooked ever since. And the whole series was pretty damn good. I mean, they got a little light in there, loose in how they manufactured them after a while. The games got a little silly after the third or fourth Underground or whatever, but
Right. Yeah.
I still enjoyed it. And then, the other thing before I get into, my favorite game of the summer, I wanted to give a shout out to Rocksmith. I don't know if you're aware of Rocksmith.
Yep. Yeah. I played
Yeah.
a lot of it there and on the PC here.
Great, great. So I am such a big fan of Rock Band and Guitar Hero that
Yep.
I want my basement set up so I can have a dedicated TV to play Rock Band in the basement when I have people over. And
Awesome.
being from Boston, I have friends that work and have worked for Harmonix. And Harmonix is a wonderfully innovative company, and they are the reason Rock Band exists. But a friend of mine had Rocksmith, and I played it once. The original iteration of Rocksmith was only guitar, and I
Yeah.
didn't have a guitar. I didn't have a guitar. I have a guitar now, but I didn't have a guitar then, but I had a bass.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that they renovated Rocksmith in 2014 and added bass. So I got my PS4 turned on, and they've got Rocksmith is on sale, and I'm like, Rocksmith, that awesome like Guitar Hero style game that teaches you how to play guitar. I was like, so I went down and grabbed my bass, found a chord on eBay to like do the plug to the PS4. The game was on sale for like $5.99, and I was. So and I downloaded it, and I literally stayed up all night, and I'm just like, this is the best video game I have ever played. And it brings me back to Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero was a singular experience. Mm-hmm. And I think we talked the last time about how things like Twitch and all of these things that get a negative rap, I feel are actually bringing back the joy of the singular experience with onlookers, like the arcade beating Donkey Kong and getting a bunch of people cheering for them, that I feel we kind of got a little too much solitude, and it created kind of the negativity and the toxicity in players and the one-upping each other thing. But to play this game, it brought me back to like how much of a joy it was to be able to just conquer something and get better at it. And the fact that I was holding a real instrument and I kind of knew how to play, but it had, like if you have a teacher's going to come and go, okay, try adding this other note, try playing this other song, try making it harder. The game does that. The game, but it does it like it's a game. They go, okay, now play that level again, and we're going to make it a little harder. And I'm like, yes, this game is perfect. Like I just and so I wanted to give a shout out to that, because the only depth to it is the personal depth you get from the game, right? It's all behind the scenes. I mean, the fact that the game can read guitar, you how to tune it, and actually react correctly blows me away. But from someone that doesn't give a crap about music or an instrument, that they're going to go, yeah, but what's fun about it? So, but to me, it's probably one of the most complicated and innovative games ever made, hands down.
I had the full Rocksmith edition in my cart so many times at Walmart, like the $200 one that had the full guitar in it, and then just that walk of like, man, am I gonna like? I loved Rock Band and Guitar Hero so much that I wanted to play this, and yeah, I never bought it. I never did, but 3 or 4 times I had it in my cart. I was doing that walk towards the till, and I'm like, I can't do this, but. But I know Rob, you play with the bass.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a fellow bass player.
Yes.
And I just I just loved the first time I picked up 2014, and was when you're playing along and you're like, if you've got some experience with it where you're playing along, it's really easy, and you're like, okay, well, maybe it'll get harder in the next song, and then halfway through the song, it's dynamically changing its difficulty level and adding more of the fill-ins and everything. I'm like, this is amazing. Like it's
or just flat out making you play in a different key just to make you move down the neck. That bastard game. No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's just a perfect game.
Yeah, and they just announced. Actually, it's funny because we did a story on Rocksmith. Did Ubisoft publish that? I know it's a Harmonix game, but it was Ubisoft published it. Yeah.
No, Rocksmith isn't even Harmonix.
Ubisoft, sorry. I think it's Ubisoft.
I think they worked with Harmonix in the background because it's too simple. Because Harmonix was doing similar things with Rock Band 3 in the pro mode, but Harmonix would have made this game, I think, if Activision had not screwed them so bad. You know what I mean? Like the big split up. They needed to they basically created a brand that Activision thought there was no innovation for. No one would buy it. So then they ended up having to like fight Activision to like, we have to keep coming up with what Activision does, or else we don't get to keep making the games we actually like to make, which are more games like Rocksmith. So Ubisoft kind of came up from the ground up and did that themselves, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, you bet. And they actually just the big story was they had just announced the last update for 2014. Like Ubisoft had an official update I want to say in like June or something, Ryan. Does
Yeah.
that sound
Yes,
right?
they
It
did.
was definitely this summer. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like so they'd been supporting it, and there was something. The final total on the songs was absurd. Oh, is it
It is
like?
absurd. I think they beat out Guitar Hero and Rock
Oh yeah,
Band.
they were
I
like
think they really did.
miles beyond. You could still go in the store and like. I mean, I've spent way too much buying songs in that, but I had like Kansas albums, and I think there was a Rush album in there too, and it was just like before you know it, you've spent $50, and it's like, oh, right, but I'm happy. It's good. And the fact they just kept supporting it for so long is so non-Ubisoft. That's not
No,
something.
exactly. And I can't imagine they made a ton of money off of it. I mean, I know there's dedicated fans out there, but that is a very niche thing, right?
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely, yeah.
if Guitar Hero and Rock Band were niche, because they are, Rocksmith is 20 steps above that, right?
Oh yeah.
The cool thing they added in 2014 that blew me away too is the fact that you could use a microphone and play an acoustic guitar with no electronic pickup and it still
Oh,
worked.
okay, yeah, yeah. Oh,
And I'm like, what? Like it would just pick up the tones from you playing, and I'm like, you guys are out of your minds. Like,
yep,
and
yep.
that brings me to my last summer game, and this was early on, but it is my daughter's favorite thing. She has gone down a YouTube rabbit hole, which with video game YouTube channels, we end up finding a lot of things that are inappropriate. But Untitled Goose Game is the biggest piece of joy ever constructed, and I have now watched way too many videos about like how to break it and the behind the scenes and everything. I believe I'm sure both of you gentlemen have played it. I can see by the
Absolutely.
smiles.
Yep.
Did you
It is,
did you see coming right away is a 2-player update so you can play 2 players at
yeah,
once?
in like a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
the end of the month.
September 23rd. Yeah.
I showed my daughter the trailer for it, and it started up, and she got, where'd the other Goosey come from? Can you turn it on right now and I can have Goosies? And I'm like, well, no, we have to wait for that to come out. Okay, it's coming soon. And there's this guy in like Wisconsin who has a YouTube channel called Pet Goose George, and it is like the most charming content. It's just, he's a military vet, and him and his wife live on the side of a river, and they've adopted a goose that like got hurt, and they raised it back to health. And so the videos are just daily updates of him like hanging out with this goose, and like he takes it to Walmart, and like everyone in the town knows it, and like and the other goose, it's one of the types of geese that have the bronchiosaur like front nose
Yes.
Yeah.
protrusion. In the game, the second goose, she goes, oh, they added George. Pet Goose George is in the game. Like she's so excited, and she couldn't get enough. So I'll share that 1 minute long trailer like 25 times a day. She just gets so excited. Oh no, another terrible goose.
Yep.
Yeah, we can't wait.
Anyway,
That's great. That's great. It's my
It's
kids have been.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's the same thing with all three of my kids. They're all campaigning for who gets to play it first when it, because it's a game that brings so much joy. There's nothing bad or evil or like gory or it's just you're just a goose.
And it's not like the most difficult game ever made, but it's not easy. Like the puzzles take time to figure out, and I miss that. It reminds me a lot more of like flipping on Wizard Warriors for the first time. My mom goes, "No, the key's in the other room. Go over there. Go over there." And that's what this game is like. Well, how do I get the guy to spit out his tea? And you sit there and go, "Oh, okay. I have to think about this." And the game does not help you. There is no hand holding. You just have to try. No.
That's right.
And
That's right.
I love that about it. And again, it's the epitome of a perfect independent, because there's not a whole lot of polish to it. There's some collision detection stuff and all this, but it is just a joy to play, and they obviously put a lot of love into it, and you can tell.
Yeah, it's been great to see them and the success, and then the ports to the other systems because of it, and it's great to see them. And I hope there's some sort of a sequel here. That would be absolutely amazing. But
Oh yeah, I mean they're definitely working on it, right? Like
you'd hope so, yeah.
if they're adding the second player and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they'll add a
Even
Canadian
if
Goose.
even if it is an addition, right? Like, I could see them just being like, "Hey, turn on the game today, and you've opened up a whole new town."
Yeah.
Like, all right, that's cool too. Like, just Ridge Racer it. Yeah, we'll just update it every
Sure.
once in a while, and we'll make you drive the course backwards now. That's a new course.
Yep. Yep.
Jerks.
Awesome. Well, so for games over the summer, have you tried out Fall Guys yet?
No, well, let's say I played Fall Guys at PAX.
Okay.
Fall Guys is it's one of those things. This is why I said I'm being very careful how many games I get at once. Because I played Fall Guys at PAX and put the controller down and walked away and went, and I will forget this exists. Because I could just see myself getting lost in the joy that is Fall Guys.
Yeah.
I would imagine you guys are both addicted to it.
Yeah, we live streamed it last weekend. We're almost 3 hours. Like,
You just lost track of time. Just
Yeah.
like one more game. One more game.
yeah, just one
right?
more game.
Yeah.
It's perfection. They nailed it.
They
It's
absolutely
just a
did.
really, really well-made, fun, silly game.
Yep, absolutely. It's perfect. And the fact they're going to make it episodic, so 45 days in, they're going to change a new season, new games. It's great. I mean, for the money you pay for it, it's just such
Yeah.
a good value, right?
I'm loving this whole new that type of game with people that are making them more not as exclusive, like they're genre bending a little bit and making it more approachable.
Yep.
But I do like the idea of, hey, we kind of made this cheap and you can get in on the ground floor, but we're constantly evolving it. Game, like, I hate the idea of streaming in games that are being taken away. Like, I hate that they have that ability. If you just download it, they can make it disappear. But at the same time, I love this constantly connected, constantly being patched and updated and made better part that comes with it. Because what I said way back in like 1998 when I played my first baseball and football games in 3D, and I went, these are wonderful. Wouldn't it be great if they could just like sell you a $5 disc that let you update all the rosters? Because this game's already great. Like, I don't need
Yeah.
and they were just ribbing people so hard on that for so long. I love the idea that they're making games that they can just continue to flesh out and make better and make and add information and content to, but on the same foundation that they built, without having to charge you $60 every time they change it.
Yeah. Glad EA did not put it out. How about that?
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Oh God. That would have been a problem.
Yeah, they say right now
How
that.
did you?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm talking too much.
No, not at all. Not at all. The like Madden 21 right now has the lowest Metacritic user score of any game ever, and it's because it's the same game they released last year, the same game they released the year before. They're doing that $5 roster update you're talking about, but they're charging 70 or 60 American for it, right? And people are finally getting tired of it.
It took way too long for them to get tired of it.
Yep. Because I mean, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so Chris, while we were live streaming there, someone hopped into our chat, not one of our subscribers or anything, and he said to us, he's like, "You guys are like the NPR of gaming, but good." Just to be clear, that wasn't the.
No, but that's cool though.
Yeah, I was like, from what I know what NPR is, I was like, I don't think that's a burn. I think actually.
No, yeah, no, that was a burn on NPR, which is a little silly because what and NPR is a wonderful thing. I mean, it's pretty dry, but what I think they're getting at is, it's a positive, unbiased, toxic source for something great.
Yeah.
And yeah, NPR is the only thing we have. Like, if I used to not listen to any news, and on my drive into work, I started putting on NPR just to go, oh, so that's the real story of that thing I heard everybody screaming about on the internet last night. All
Mm.
right, okay, I kind of get why everybody's so mad now. All right. you know uh, Instead of, like, or I don't understand, why my Republican family members are so mad, because the real story is not what they heard, but that's a different story in and of itself. But no, I think that high praise, that's really cool.
Yeah, we had a good laugh about it, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, did you catch last week the Mario 35th anniversary stuff announced?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
and and I can't even keep a poker face and pretend to contain my smile.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean, oh God. Geez. So yeah,
So the
and
one thing
again,
you meant,
I go ahead. Go
well, I
ahead.
was just gonna say the thing you wrote here that broke you broke me too. I actually had to stop because I was like, "Are you yes?" The Mario Kart circuit, home circuit thing. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I was just blown to bits. Like,
We
I,
we showed the video to my daughter, and she looked at the phone. She looked up at me and my wife and said, "Ava can have Chris," and we're just like, "Yes, you can." Like, absolutely. Like, and I wanted to mention, I'm so over the moon excited that Nintendo has they're doubling down on the fact that they were always the innovators, but they always innovate not in the way that I think the mainstream wants them to necessarily, which means
yeah,
that some of the time it doesn't hit. They're
Yeah.
always innovating, but some of the time it doesn't hit. Like, I still hold to this day that I think Labo is one of the most brilliant things they've ever done. And I think the people that love Labo get why Labo is so great. Which I'm one of them. But Labo didn't catch on, I think, like it really should have. And this is just the next iteration of that. It's like, how can we combine all this AR technology
Yeah.
and all of this other stuff we've done, and arguably the most widely loved thing we've ever made, which is Mario Kart, and that's because you can play that no matter who you are. People just love it. I do want to say though, both of these things, that and the Super Mario 3D All Stars, I got so excited when I saw both of them, and I don't know if it's just that everybody is so we're all so cynical now.
Yeah.
oh yeah, man.
Like, the people are cynical with Disney because Disney makes all of this stuff you love. Okay, so you like it? Yeah, no, I like it, but I'm mad that they make all of it. Okay, I mean, I guess that's fine. I mean, we don't want monopolies. We can agree with that, but they're still making stuff you love, right? And I think the same thing comes with Nintendo. But I got someone, this is Nintendo. They're just as bad as EA putting a $60 price ticket on a game I already own. And I'm like, one, you don't know what they're going to charge for it. Number one, they probably will charge $60 for it, but it's 3 games.
Yeah.
And it's 3 perfect games. This isn't like I just said, this isn't like we have to port Final Fantasy VII and we're afraid that a 9-year-old nowadays isn't going to know how to play Final Fantasy VII or isn't going to like it because the graphics aren't good. Mario 64 already had an up-revved port already done, which I'm assuming that's the one that they're using. It's not a beautiful
No,
gloss over, but
it's
No.
not.
they tried. But the game is perfect. You don't need it to look like when Breath of the Wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Super Mario Sunshine is the most underappreciated platformer ever made. You don't need to
Yep.
do much to fix that. The game is just great. And Mario Galaxy still looks like a brand new game, in my opinion. They just nailed. So, there's a lot of detractors that are flat out angry. Like, that's it, I'm boycotting Nintendo. They can't do this to me. I'm like, all right, whatever. Sure, fine. There was
What do you
one thing I heard. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, maybe you were just going to mention it. What do you think of the timed release on it? On the 3D All Stars?
So I think it's a cool idea just because it's it's Nintendo doing their same normal thing of we're not actually gonna have a limited number of consoles, we're just gonna limit the amount we put up there to get demand. I think it creates more of a thing, and that's what they're going for. But at the same time, I mean, it it would be no different than if they had physical product and the physical product sold out. So making something digitally still feel that way, I think comes with the style of what it is. It's not a this is a this is being released almost as like a gift or a thank you to people that are still fans, and not a, oh, this is just something that's going to exist forever for everyone. It is kind of part of the thing that I think is gross about digital releases. Like one of the other, things I was really excited about that was hearing Scott Pilgrim was coming back. And that was just a bummer because I owned that and then couldn't own it anymore. And I think it's really crappy. Like the fact that they can do that is terrible. But at the same time, I haven't really seen Nintendo do that. They're just kind of limiting the time period in which you can buy it. And so that bugs some people. The thing that I heard that had a little bit of merit that I wanted to know what you guys thought of it was someone was saying that it taken wrongly, and they said they weren't making a case for this, they just said it kind of felt a little weird to them, was something like this Mario home circuit could be construed as what classist to them. And I was thinking of that statement for a minute because I thought at first, and I go, well, I mean, video game consoles in general, then you'd have the argument that they're classist because not everybody can own one. But they said, no. They go, because pretty much everyone, like if you go to school and you're, the level of, able to live and not be living on the street, usually have a TV, and the kids usually end up with a video game system. So again, super poor probably don't have a Switch, or a PS4 or whatever. But what they did say was that you can have a Switch and live in a tiny apartment. And I'm like, you know what? That is not a bad point. So then the point that I brought back to them is I said, well, instead of choosing to see the negative in that, think about it this way. They still sell remote control cars. Are remote control cars classist? That's my argument back, because I found a way. I lived in a small house when I was a kid. I found a way to play with my remote control car on Christmas morning, and it sure as hell wasn't doing it in my living room. Like, you had to go outside or do a parking lot or bring it into school, for an after school program, or bring it to Cub Scouts, at night, or whatever, like in a gym. I said, so, but then it got me to thinking, is that a good argument on my part? Because we don't know how this works. Does it use Bluetooth? Like, can you take, because it shows them controlling it with their Switch, not docked, which means they're going for this being able to be a mobile thing. But it does say home circuit. I'm wondering, do you need to be on Wi-Fi for it to work?
I'm going to imagine so.
Right, I'm going to too. So it makes this weird gray area of, I'm not necessarily, I still think it's the coolest fucking thing ever, and I need it. But there was some realism to the argument. I didn't want to just go, because I would hate to be, that kid who has a Switch and then goes, but we share this house with 3 other families, so I don't have the physical space to play this.
Yeah, I'm going to go with, I don't think it will need the internet. And the only reason I have behind that, and I mean, without knowing, it's just speculation, because it's AR and you're controlling the car and you're looking at it on the screen at the same time, going to the internet and back would be too much latency.
I agree with that. That's kind of what I was
Part
thinking.
of me thinks it would have to be a Bluetooth line there. But I mean, don't know for sure. Like, maybe they've got to have something in the back end for... But I think once you add the latency of, you're going to have a lot of cars going off the track, because you see it after your car has already passed it by about, let's say, by the time it gets through their video game servers and back, you're going to be looking at like quarter of a second, half a second. It would just be hard to control same time. But Just speculation.
And again, leaving that, figuring this is the first time I've on air talked about it. I wanted to, because I didn't see too many people say it, but the person had a really strong case, and they weren't trying to talk down the game. They were just saying they feel for a kid that might see it and go, but I don't have this. Like,
Yeah.
I can afford a Switch, but now I can't play this game that my friends have. But them showing a whole bunch of people in a room all playing it would lead me to believe that the point of this,
Sure.
I think if they made it limited to Wi-Fi, it limits it, and therefore if it works as well as they show it working, which knowing Nintendo it does, because
Yeah.
the Labo stuff really works. Whether you like it or not is a different story, but Labo works as well as the videos made it out to look. It works, and Labo doesn't need the internet. So I would assume it works the same way as that. I can't wait for it. The idea of dumping all my blows on the floor and making track obstacles and stuff that the game actually reacts and all this, and it just I'm watching it and going, this is back to Nintendo's robot with the NES level of innovation of them going, how far can we push this?
Yep.
And it blows me away.
On it being classist, though, you know what? When I was a kid, I always wanted that. I had GI Joes, and I had a lot of GI Joes, but I always wanted that aircraft carrier. Never got that aircraft carrier.
You knew one kid that had it.
Yeah, there's always the one kid who got it, but it wasn't me.
Oh boy, that freaking aircraft carrier.
So
it's a very good point. No, it's a very good point, and that's kind of the perspective that I wanted to put, is that kids, I don't necessarily think kids go to that level of thinking. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I think with this,
absolutely.
because to me, one of my favorite things about being a kid is that I had something that my friend didn't have, and they had something that I didn't have, and so that's part of the fun of hanging out. So I liked the idea of, my friend has an N64 and I don't, so I go over to his house to play Mario Kart with my buddies, and I think that this can be a builder of that type of scenario again. And
absolutely.
I would hate for that to become a, like, if a child actually believes, is saddened by it, I would hope that, we react to that well and we deal with it accordingly, right? But it feels to me like somebody assuming that it might be construed that way, and that's why they were very quick to say, we're not saying it or shitting on the game, we're just saying, could it be construed that way? And so I was like, oh, that's an interesting topic. Like, I didn't even think of it because I'm too damn excited about how cool it is.
Yep.
Now, did they announce a price tag for it?
I'm just looking on the website here now.
I thought I heard $99.99.
Makes complete sense. That's Labo. That's what Labo was.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a good price, right? That would be, I'm assuming that's American.
But on
you're
the other
getting
side
a remote control car in a video game.
So on the other side of that, though, Chris, I think both Rob and I talked about it, and as excited as we are about it, neither of us have the space.
Yeah.
Like, to, we both got houses, but there's no, like, maybe if I was home alone for the weekend or or something.
Yeah, that's why I'm hoping it's Bluetooth, because you could head out to your parking lot right next door, right? And
exactly.
Make some tracks and have some friends over.
And I really hope this is what we start seeing. I really hope that, like, because I think back to Pinewood Derbies. I don't know if you guys had that up, but like, you make the little like pine car and you in boys brush it down the track, and or like kids that do like model airplane group or whatever, and I just see this, if this really takes off, this is like a dads and kids and mums and kids and whatever, just being outside and making a cool Mario Kart track, and all your friends show up to race on it, and it's if it works as well as it looks like it does, the possibilities are truly endless on what you can do with this damn thing. And I just leave it to Nintendo, like, and I hope it takes off for them as much as Mario Maker did. Mario Maker was a big risk and people love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they really do.
And that was a risk because they ran the risk of people going, but this isn't a game. You know what I mean? And like they did with like say Mario Paint, you
Right.
know,
Yes,
which
right.
I loved, but that was the argument. This isn't a game. I don't know why it's on, but Mario Maker runs that fine line of introducing it like it is a game,
Yep.
and having things you have to unlock, and I'm like, you guys are geniuses. Like, good job. Now here's the thing. So since this is AR reactive and fully what you can do with your real world, um, I'm wondering, like because obviously the possibilities of what you can turn it into are endless. But
Hmm.
since you're looking through a camera and you have a car, does the character you play as in the game have to be the car you have? Because obviously you're not seeing the car's hands; it's a digital
Oh,
set of hands. So
right.
are there going to be like character editions? Like, I would love to see, even though with Rare it would never happen, like the reemergence of like Diddy Kong racing characters
Right.
and stuff. It would just like you could do so much with this. And all it has to do is catch on.
Yep. And
And
you
I
know what?
hope and I hope the RC cars work real well.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. If they're piece of junk RC cars, it doesn't work. You
Sure.
know?
So I know that they're releasing a Mario and a Luigi.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the red and the green ones. So, but yeah, can't wait to. I'm sure I'll find someone who has it to
Oh,
get a little
sure.
hands
You
on with
bet.
it.
Yeah, no, to me, that's Nintendo just dropped the mic on that one. They're like, hey, yeah,
Yeah.
guess what? Now I do feel kind of bad, and that's why I think they're focusing big time on the in-home part of it because of COVID. Right,
Oh,
but
sure. Yeah.
guaranteed they've been working on this for a lot longer. So I have a feeling if COVID wasn't a thing, the trailer would have been, people out in like parking lots and in gyms and on basketball courts with like
Oh
surrounded by
yeah,
like 40 people all cheering him on like Street Fighter. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yep.
But
yeah. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah.
yeah.
Um. No. Yeah. We're both pretty stoked. I think for this
Yeah.
35th anniversary stuff. Um. Well, maybe as a last topic here. Um. Well, do you have any games that you love, but you know that people haven't played? Like kind of a
Like a hidden gem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I brought up I know that my things kind of go a little bit older, but obviously you both have played Rocksmith, so I'm assuming more people have, but Rocksmith was my big one that I found because I had forgotten it existed. So you heard me
yeah.
talk about that, but I wanted to highlight. I don't know if I talked about it on our last episode. Did I mention Shadow of Destiny on our
No.
last episode?
You
It
did
comes
not.
up a lot with me. It comes up a lot with me. This is a game I don't even know if you can find it anymore. But in all of these PlayStation like re-releases of old games, if you can find Shadow of Destiny, this is a game everybody has to play. I think if this came out as an indie game today, this thing would clean up. This was a PlayStation 2 launch title, and I can guess
Oh.
by your faces you guys have never heard of it.
No, I actually cheated and looked it up before we got you online here because I'd never heard of it, but really well reviewed game and
So
amazing
yes,
idea.
oh yeah. So Shadow of Destiny, it was made by the people that made for Silent Hill. Silent Hill 2 hadn't come out
Oh.
yet either. It was the it it's kind of like what if Silent Hill and Myst were kind of jammed
Ooh.
into the same game because the gameplay is very similar to Silent Hill, but there's no action. The game
Okay.
is all like a search and discuss part of an RPG, so it definitely feels more like Myst in that respect. It's puzzle solving, so it's all the best parts of Silent Hill without the scary, or the action that was like kind of hard or clunky for people. But what's cool about this game, and I won't remember character names and stuff, but you play as this guy that within the first like 10 minutes of playing the game, you're murdered. And it's not a graphic murder, but you're murdered. And you show up in like this afterlife thing, and this homunculus character shows up and basically says, I have the ability to send you back to before you were murdered, and you get to stay alive if you solve the murder. But like Groundhog Day and Happy Death Day and all, or Back to the Future, any of these things where you mess with time, this thing, obviously there's more ulterior motives going on to it, and you have to keep, like, you solve your death, but then it still happens, in a different way. So you have to keep digging, and you keep going back in time into this town in different times and meeting ancestors of yourself and trying to solve this big riddle of why you're destined to die is basically the whole point of this game. And it is quite a trip. It's the Silent Hill people, so it has like 6 different endings, and they're all a blast to try to get to. I don't recall it being a very long game, but it's hard because it's puzzles,
Sure.
But it's just a fantastic game, and it really showed off what the PS2 could do at the time. And I would highly recommend, if no one's ever played it, that you have to play it because it's wonderful.
Great. Yeah. It looks like it's got a PC port as well.
Yes. Oh, awesome.
Oh,
Came out 2001. I don't know what it would be on. Maybe Good Old Games or something, but it definitely came out 2002 on PC, 2001 on PlayStation 2s. So, yeah, might look for that.
It's one I like to pull out. That game is just wonderful. And then there's Ikaruga. Have you guys played Ikaruga?
yes.
Always heard of it.
Yeah, okay.
Never played it.
I didn't.
Ikaruga's like. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I didn't get it till I bought it on the Switch, but it always I'm a big fan of shooters like that, and it was kind of legendary. I couldn't find it on anything I had, so when it came out on Switch, I was like, finally, finally get to try this.
I had it on GameCube. Oh, so good. So Rob, do you know of it? Like
Yes.
It's a Gradius style shooter, but I love the complexity of it because you have to change your polarity. You can only kill things of the opposite polarity as you, but you can only be killed by things of the opposite polarity of you. So it's this horrible balancing act of, it's so much fun. I love it so much. And with that, I guess I'll mention, in that vein, I played a game at PAX 2 years ago that I finally bought on the Switch that I think I talked about on the last show, but Freedom Finger is another little gem that it's dirty. So fans of this that are, children or under 17, it's pretty vulgar. But that's kind of the point. But I love the idea of a Gradius style game, but you're controlling a fist making a middle finger, and the innovation of grabbing a ship and squeezing that ship to make it use its weapon instead of just like killing it and getting a power up really cracked me up. I don't know if you guys played this one. It's a blast. It's hard.
No, I added it to my watch list after we talked last time, but I haven't picked it up yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it still shows up on my game that I don't think anyone's played, and I just think it's wonderful. But yeah, that's what I got.
Awesome, man. Well, I don't know. I think we're good now, eh? We've been talking for about an hour. Okay. Chris, why don't you? You're a busy man. I follow you on Facebook there, and if you're not posting about your numerous podcasts and web shows, you're doing a live show, belting out a Muse tune. So.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad you guys saw it. Yeah, that was awesome. That happened shortly after we talked last, actually. I've got some friends, well, they're friends now. At the time, I just knew them casually. So, when my wife was pregnant with our daughter and we didn't know she was pregnant, we went 2 weekends in a row to the Black Rose, which is an Irish pub in Boston. And this was in 2014. And, we went and, one night and saw this, awesome band, these two, guys from Ireland, just a folk duo, having a good time, played a lot of mix of like popular rock songs mixed with cool old fashioned traditional Irish songs. And we just fell in love with the guys. Really cool. They talked to the crowd. And so we had friends from New York come in and say, hey, we're in Boston for the Conor McGregor fight, the UFC fight. do you and Sarah want to come in and meet us for a drink before the fight? We'd love to see you guys. And we're like, yeah, why don't we go to the Black Rose? Because these guys we saw last night were great and they're playing again. And so we like ended up seeing nights. That second night, they asked me up on stage to sing with them because they heard me singing every song. And I'm like, what? And so they were like, do you know anything? And I go, well, all of the traditional songs you've done, I know. I said, do you know Creep by Radiohead? Like I was drinking, so I just came. And so we did Creep by Radiohead, and they were like, holy shit, you're awesome, dude. Come back next week and we'll sing another song. And so we went and
Awesome.
saw them play 2 more nights. And so I've stayed in contact with these guys since, and they at the beginning of the pandemic were, you know, lamenting, you know, about how their whole money that they make, they're called the blow-ins, by the way. The whole money that they make is from playing live shows. So, you know, they have like basically a residency at a pub, and Ireland still to now has not reopened pubs. And this was back in March we were talking. So, you know, that's how they made their whole money. So they were talking about working out like a live stream, you know, where they could play together but separate in different rooms and, you know, kind of recreate that. And I'm like, well, you know, to help promote that, you know, I've always wanted to sing in a band. This is the perfect opportunity to like do something virtual. Like a lot of bands I knew, were doing like virtual re-recordings of their old songs for fun, like showing themselves now in their houses all separate in split screen. And I said, hey, if you guys, you know, play a song and send me the recording of you playing it and I'll sing over it, and then we'll stitch it together and make a video out of it. And they thought it was a great idea. And what's cool is not only that, but he amateur sound recording guy. So he said, no, you send me you singing after, and I'm going to stitch them together and like equalize it and make it sound awesome. So I have never heard myself recorded sound that good. So I mean, he didn't like, you know, auto tune me or anything. That's me singing, but like I just listened to it back and I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. We're actually doing another song or two, and I've got 3 or 4 like small bands that I know that were interested in doing it. And it just for me, because you know, I like collaborating with people like this, you know, and you know, obviously we can talk all day long, and for some reason people find it interesting, but like, can I sing in front of a crowd, like, and actually not be embarrassed, and will people like it? And people ended up loving it. Like, and I let them pick the song. I just said, you know, here's a list of like 40 songs that I can sing off the top of my head. And they were like, you actually can sing Muse? And so I sang it, and they were like, oh yeah, shit, you can sing Muse. Okay, we'll do that. Awesome. So yeah, so that's Virtual Bar Band. You can find that on my YouTube channel. You search Chris Chipman or the Chip on YouTube. But like I said, I'm a busy beaver. I also have the Chipman Brothers Tangent, Creating Geeks, Shooting the Shit with Chippa, and the Talkbuster podcast, all under the umbrella of the Chippa Made This. That is my umbrella of podcasts because, you know, if I tried to brand them, I wouldn't be able to do all this different stuff. The Talkbuster one is actually my favorite that I do, even though Shooting the Shit probably has the most episodes, because I've gotten the opportunity to speak with the last blockbuster on the planet on various occasions, and actually and it isn't coming out yet, but I have gotten to see the last blockbuster documentary as a pre-screener, and there'll be a review from me coming out of that. So I won't drop any info on it now, but it is fan-friggin-tastic. It's so wonderful. And with that, I also do hopped ones, which is like the Spicy Wing Show hot ones, but with beer. And 2 of the beers I was drinking tonight were actually leftovers from my first virtual recording that we did a couple nights ago of that show that went on for 3 hours. That's going to be a fun one to edit down. But we've been waiting a while to do it, but that'll be fun. And then my new and most proud of thing is This Made the Chippa, which is play on the Chippa Made This. It's my on my own show. I filled in for my brother on The Escapist when he was sick and couldn't speak, doing some of his web shows. He sent me the scripts, and then he edited my voice in with the visuals he was going to use. And the reaction to it was incredible. A lot of the people on the site didn't even know he had a brother, and I got a lot of new followers because of it. And I said, well, maybe I should do a web show on my own. So because I am not as good of a journalist or writer as my brother, I'm much more better off the cuff. I was like, well, I can't really do this as like an opinion thing or whatever. So I said, well, what do I know? I know the years I've been alive, and I know what I've seen and what I've done. So I'm going through every year of my life starting 1984, and I'm, the meat of it is I'm talking about the movies that came out that year, but I'm also intermixing with it current events to kind of put you in place in time, especially because for the first 3 or 4 years of my life, I have no real recollection. So I'll be able to talk about, yeah, the Terminator came out in 84. I saw that in 1990. So here's where I was at. And that's kind of the idea. So that's what I got going on. I do too much.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out of the schedule to talk with us here anyway. It's fitting us in there.
Absolutely. And we got to get you guys back on my show as well. And I think, Ryan, right, we have to do a Talkbuster as well.
Yeah. We'll record one here right away. I spent a few years in video stores here, but not a Blockbuster, but
that's okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, been too long, Chris. We definitely won't let it go as long next time.
Absolutely. I'll come on anytime.
And we just to let you know, we just hit a year, hey, of doing this. Yeah, we
That's awesome.
We did our big 50th episode a couple weeks ago. And, yeah, so
yeah, it was going to be at one point we thought things might be a little better and we're going to do it together, but of course that hasn't happened yet. So
and then we're going to try and set up outside and be like, 6 feet from each other, but like, separately streaming, but have sticks that we could poke each other with, so you could see.
Yeah, so you could prove we're 6 feet away, right? So we're not in the same.
But the weather didn't cooperate. So.
No, that's awesome, man. 50 episodes in a year is nothing to scoff at, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I think we missed the week of Christmas, and then just another week when we couldn't make anything work.
Nice. So. I'm trying to think. I started in 2017 with the Chipman Brothers Tangent in March of 2017. So that just hit 3 years. And Talkbuster hit 2 years in June. And yeah. I think Shooting the Shit hits 2 years next month, which is nuts.
Yeah.
It's so weird. The minute you can start putting years on it, you go, what? What have I done? It's really cool. I love the video format of yours. I actually did I somehow have 100,000 plus downloads between all of my shows.
Oh wow. That's great.
Which blows my brain. And people will go, well, that's kind of small. No, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, if 10 people listened to it, I'd be happy. You know what I mean? 100,000, I can't even fathom this. But Bob and I did an episode like this for the Tangent to celebrate that. I thought that was really cool. And to prove to people that we were socially distant, we would like joke and chuck things across the room so they didn't think we were in the same room. Because people already think him and I live together anyway. So it's
awesome. All right, well, Chris, thanks again for joining us.
Absolutely.
You can always check out more from the Grumpy Old Gamers at thegrumpyoldgamers.com. That's where we post all of our original content. And look us up on Facebook. That's where most of our activity happens. Yeah. And to commemorate being a year, we just finally launched our Patreon. So we just last week. So search out the Grumpy Old Gamers on there if you're interested in supporting us. So other than that, yeah, we absolutely would. So other than that, thank you again, Chris, and have a good evening, everybody.
You too, guys. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.